I know what you're thinking. Vinny's always railing against those millennials because they walk around with their cell phones doing this all day long. But today we're going to use it for this video because I'm going to check my Twitter account. First question here comes from Brad. And Brad says, given the same amount of calories per day, is it better to eat 4 or 5 small meals or 3 larger meals? Over time, there's been a lot made of how many meals you should have per day. A lot of people in the diet industry would tell you, eat 6 tiny meals a day. Basically, they want you to graze all day long. And the reason that came about was, whenever we do the calorie in, calorie out method, and most of it has to do with grains and sugars, those foods make you hungry more often because they release not only insulin, but hormones such as ghrelin and leptin. And without trying to get into it too much, ghrelin and leptin are the hormones that conspire to make you feel hungry all the time. So it stands to reason, if you're not getting enough calories on those meals, they would tell you to eat more often so that you can feel sated. Well, when you're eating good, heart healthy fats from red meats, from avocados, from olives, from chicken, from fish, you're not going to feel hungry quite as often. So you could get away with eating 3 meals a day. I've actually heard of people eating 2 meals a day. Not that I recommend that, but after they eat breakfast, they just don't feel hungry all day long, and they make it until dinner time. So it's up to you. I would tell you to eat 3 meals a day and enjoy yourself and not feel hungry. The second question comes from Grant. Grant says, what's up with eggs? I know you're all in favor, but the wisdom was that they were always bad for cholesterol. Which is it? We need cholesterol to live. So the whole high cholesterol hypothesis never held any water with me or anyone that knows better. The other thing is, dietary cholesterol has nothing to do with cholesterol in your body. The fact of the matter is, if you don't eat cholesterol, your body will make it. That's how essential it is to your health. If you don't take it, you will make it. So, in fact, if you cut eggs out, your body will continue to make its own cholesterol. So, again, it holds no weight. Not to mention that egg whites was one of the most insidious things that happened in the whole diet industry. We walked around for 30 years, egg whites, take the yolk out. The yolk is going to kill me. When in fact, the healthiest part of the egg is in the yolk. That's where you get all of the nutrients of an egg. And as a matter of fact, when you take that out and you're only eating egg whites, now you're eating a ton of protein, which could actually turn to sugar and store as a long-chain triglyceride. So it's exactly the opposite of what you thought. Please, Grant, please, and I'm begging you, eat the whole egg and eat lots of them. Again, eggs are good. They're full of amino acids. We all hear about amino acids on the internet, right, bro? You gotta have your amino acids, bro.
So please, cook your eggs.
Eat your eggs, you will get what you need. The third question comes from, and I'm not kidding, Pumpkin Booty. And I'm gonna assume it's a he. Pumpkin Booty wants to know, how many grams of protein does it take to build muscle? There's a second part to this one. Which protein powder do you recommend? Well, let's take the first part first. If you look online, there will be no shortage of bro science out there saying, hey bro, if you're gonna build muscle, you need 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per lean body mass. Or at the very low part, hey bro, you need at least 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. Well, the first thing you need to know is what your lean body mass is, which is almost impossible to predict unless you go and get a DEXA scan or hydrostatic weighing. But let's say you can get in the neighborhood and you can figure it out. I think that 1 gram of protein, not to mention 1.5 or 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, is way too much. I always tell people 1/2 a gram of protein per pound of body weight is about as high as you want to go. Some people, I'll tell them 0.6, and I only do that because when you do 0.6, it sounds cooler than saying 1/2 a gram, and they think that you really thought about it for a bit. So let's go with 1/6, 0.6 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, if in fact you can figure that out. Too much protein in your system will turn to sugar and store as a long-chain triglyceride. We've mentioned that before, and I'll keep mentioning it because it's very important. So You don't need that much protein. The second part of this question is, which protein powder do you recommend? The answer is none. I'm not a fan of protein powder, just for the simple fact that you could get all the great protein you want from meat, from fish, from pork, from eggs. There's so many places to get good protein from cheese. I mean, it's all over the place. You don't need to take a powdered protein, which by the time you powder any protein, you've now turned it into a processed food. I'm going to add to that. There is one situation where I do recommend, if you want to take in a little powdered protein, is if you're an ultra athlete or you are a triathlete where you'll be on the course or out there training for longer than 6 or 7 or 8 hours and you need to take something in a liquid form. That's where you might want to use this stuff, but use it very conservatively. The two I would recommend is, number one, whey protein mixes very easily with water and it assimilates very well, and when you're out there exercising, it won't make you sick. You can also try egg protein, which is slightly better, but reports from the field is some people will get real gassy from that. So if you're riding a bike next to someone else, you might lose some friends. So it's up to you. I'm not a fan of protein powder, and there's a limited way in which you can use it. If you're at home, if you could get it any other way, I would suggest to get it in real foods. Our third question comes from Stephen. Stephen wants to know, what's the best exercise to lose weight? Should I use weightlifting, HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, or aerobics? Stephen, I always say whenever I do my talks around town and whenever I travel, the first words out of my mouth is, exercise is a bad way to lose weight. Exercise is a very poor way to lose weight. I say that a lot for effect because, hey, a fitness trainer is walking on stage telling the audience, what I do for a living is not the best way to lose weight. But I also say that because it's the truth. Exercise is not the best way to lose weight. Diet is. That doesn't mean that exercise couldn't help you. Weightlifting is good because even though you're not doing aerobic exercises anaerobically, you're not raising your heart rate that high, and really taxing your body that way will help you promote lean muscle mass. So weightlifting is good. I would say aerobics is the best way to do it, and I always tell people, if you're going to use aerobics to lose weight, do not do high interval aerobics. Let me explain a couple of examples of that. One would be if you went to a spinning class, let's say, and the teacher is saying, get out of your saddle, let's do it, and your heart rate is at 180 beats a minute, or you're in one of those high intensity aerobic classes where you're running really hard and your heart rate is always at its max. The only thing you're doing there is burning your blood glycogen, your blood sugar. You're not actually burning any fat. So as soon as you're finished your exercise routine, although you've burned a lot of calories, you've burned nothing but sugar from your blood, and you'll have to put that back on because let's face it, if you run your car out of gas, it won't go any further until you put the gas back in. So you always want to maintain homeostasis for as long as you can. So the best type of aerobics to do is zone 2. We have 4 zones. Zone 1 is when you're walking around. Zone 2 is when you're doing comfortable enough aerobic activity to where you can still have a conversation. Zone 3 is where you can huff and puff and kind of talk to the person next to you while you're running, let's say. And Zone 4 is what we were talking about before, the one you never want to go to. The best way to find your Zone 2 is to take the empirical data, 180 beats per minute, and then subtract your age from it. Let's assume Steve is 40. So if you take 40 from 180, you come up with 140. So 140 will put Steve right in the Zone 2. That's where you want to be. That's where you're going to burn maximum fat, and you will reserve your sugar and you will maintain homeostasis. High intensity interval training, we kind of touched on that. It's not the best way to lose weight. I get it, people like to do it for specific sports and whatnot, but if you're trying to lose weight, your best form of exercise is going to be weightlifting, followed by, and also aerobic activity, Zone 2. Our next question comes from Joel. Joel wants to know, is it safe to say that all dried fruits are bad? Are there any exceptions? Well, Joel, dried fruits are not going to be your best option. First, let's get the first part of fruits out of the way. Tropical fruits will never be your best option. Things like pineapple or bananas or papaya, any of the high glycemic index fruits are not going to be good.
What am I going to do for fruit?
Your best fruits, if you're eating them fresh, are going to be berries, and let's not forget, olive is a fruit, and also avocado is a fruit. These are all great fruits to have. But whenever you take that and you do the dried fruit thing, you're taking the water out and you're concentrating the sugar, so the fruit will become basically candy. We've all seen this. You get papaya or pineapple or anything and it's dried. It tastes just like someone dipped it in honey. That's not a good idea. So the fact of the matter, you have to stick to the low glycemic fruit even if it's fresh, number one. And number two, you want to stay away from all dried fruit.